قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا والدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أم رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع والدك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي والصحب لواي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزأتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأمي يد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وعمتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا هرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عادهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها اللهم صل وقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذنوني أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلال إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرة ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنوا لي يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله وعلیک السلام یا امین وحی اللہ ہے انہو نام قد اذنت لک فدخل جبرائیل معنا تحت الکساء فقال لأبی ان اللہ قد اوحی الیکم یقول انما یرید اللہ لیذہب عنکم الرجس اہل البیت ویطہرکم تطہیرا اللہم صلی علی محمد وقال علی یا ابی یا رسول اللہ ابعثنی والے جلوسنا حوض تحت الکساء من الفضل عند اللہ فقال النبی صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ والذی بعثنی بالحق نبی واصطفانی بالرسالہ نجی ما ذکر خبرنا ھذا فی محفل من محافل اہل الارض وفیہ جم من شیعتنا ومحبینا وفيهم محموم ونزلت عليهم ورحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم لا يتفرقوا فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجی ما ذکر خبرنا ھذا فی محفل من محافل اہل الارض وفیہ جم من شیعتنا ومحبین وفیہم محموم الا وفرج اللہ ہمہ ولا مغموم الا وکشف اللہ غمہ ولا طالب حاجت الا وقضى اللہ حاجہ فقال علی علیہ السلام اذا واللہ فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا وفازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل
صلوات بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے اور ہر ہاتھ میں پتھر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے اب تو لاش علی اکبر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے مارتے ہیں وہاں نیزوں کو زمین پر ظالم مارتے ہیں وہاں نیزوں کو زمین پر ظالم دفن جس جا علی اصغر ہے خدا خیر کرے بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. کچھ قدم دور کھڑی دیکھ رہی ہے زینب. کچھ قدم دور کھڑی دیکھ رہی ہے زینب. شمر کے ہاتھ میں خنجر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. چونک کر خواب سے کہتی تھی وطن میں صغرا. چونک کر خواب سے کہتی تھی وطن میں صغرا. کیسی مشکل میں میرا گھر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے. پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے. بیچ میں بنت پیمبر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. صلوات.
Salawat. The daughter of Fatima is full of sorrow. In her path so many woes have been steered. She doesn't know what will happen tomorrow. She hasn't finished wiping her tears. The world has seldom seen such a bold woman, so courageous and without a speck of fear. She is so strong that she can't be broken, even by her loved ones' heads on the spears. Her parents are Fatima and Ali, none other, and to the Prophet Muhammad she is so dear. But this day, she is without her brother, and no comfort seems to be near. There is no one to relieve them of their agony. The indifference of these Muslims is so severe. Nobody cares for the Prophet's progeny. For the victims, everyone should shed tears. Don't all the people present understand? The noble family of the Prophet has no more peers. Everyone's salvation is verily in their hands. Why are they being driven to the verge of tears? This lady is not afraid to lose her life. She speaks against cruelty without fear. To spread her brother's message, she strives, breaking everyone's heart with her silent tears. On hurting the innocent, the cruel are bent, but these wicked plots fail and she perseveres. She faces calamity with her spiritual strength. She is anguished but holds back her tears. The tyrants wanted to crush the struggle, but it shall never end, and also neither should our tears. Everyone is moved on hearing her troubles. Karbala is and will be remembered each year. Salawat.
کیونکہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، یہ آخری ایام ہیں ایام اعزا کے، تو ان دنوں میں حرم کی واپسی مدینہ ہوئی تھی، اسی سلسلے کا ایک مرثیہ ہے جس کی میں کچھ 4 یا 5 بند تحت اللفظ پیش کر رہا ہوں، اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ لکھا ہے چھوٹ کے یثرب میں جب حرم آئے، لکھا ہے چھوٹ کے یثرب میں جب حرم آئے، سروں کو پیٹتے باسد غم و علم آئے، بپا تھا غل حرم سید امم آئے، بیان کرتے تھے سجاد رو کے ہم آئے، تمام کنبے کو مقتل میں کھو کے آئے ہیں، بجائے تحفہ 72 کے داغ لائے ہیں، گئے رسول کے روضے پہ جس گھڑی سجاد، لپٹ کے قبر مبارک سے تب یہ کی فریاد، خبر ہے آپ کو بھی ہم پہ کیا ہوئی بیداد، کہ 2 پہر میں ہوا سارا گھر کا گھر برباد، تمہاری آل پہ رنج و علم کثیر ہوئے، حسین قتل ہوئے اور حرم اسیر ہوئے، چلے مکان کو روتے امام جن و بشر، تمام قافلہ تھا 7 نوحہ گر، وفور غم ہوا دیکھا جو خانہ سرور، اداسی چھائی ہے خاک اڑ رہی ہے ڈیہڑی پر، یہ غیر حال ہوا غم سے جان کھونے لگے، امام دیکھ کے سنسان گھر کو رونے لگے، غرض اتر چکے ناقوں سے جب کہ اہل حرم، بچھائی بیویوں نے گھر میں تب صفے ماتم، کہا یہ فاطمہ صغرا نے کیوں نہ ہو مجھے غم، ملی نہ آ کے سکینہ بھی مجھ سے ہائے ستم، پکاری بانو وہ جی سے گزر گئی صغرا، سکینہ شام کے زنداں میں مر گئی صغرا، خصوص حضرت زینب کی تھی عجب حالت، کبھی نہ پیٹنے رونے سے ہوتی تھی فرصت، غذا بھی ترک ہوئی طاق ہو گئی طاقت، کسی سے ملتی نہ تھیں آپ غم کی تھی شدت، یہی تھا درد زباں تم کدھر گئے بھائی، میں آہ جیتی رہی اور مر گئے بھائی، لکھا ہے چھوٹ کے یثرب سے جب حرم آئے، اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ محمد و آل محمد،
اللہم صلی علی
محمد و آل محمد۔
ایک سورہ فاتحہ بانی مجلس احمد حسین اور سور حسین کے تمام مرحومین کو شامل کرتے ہوئے آپ اپنے مرحومین کو بھی شامل کریں۔ آواز بلند درود پڑھتے ہیں۔
اللہم صلی علی
محمد
محمد و آل محمد۔
اے سوگواروں آہو بکا کا مقام ہے، اے سوگواروں آہو بکا
کا مقام ہے اب رخصت حسین علیہ السلام ہے مہمان تمہارا جاتا ہے جو تشنا کام ہے سر پیٹو خاک اڑاؤ کے ماتم تمام ہے سر پیٹو خاک اڑاؤ کے ماتم تمام ہے اب وہ صدائے ہائے حسین آئے گی گھر میں تمہارے فاطمہ زہرا آئے گی گھر میں تمہارے فاطمہ زہرا آئے گی اے شاہ کربلا تیری خدمت نہ ہو سکی اے کشتہ جفا تیری خدمت نہ ہو سکی اے جان فاطمہ تیری خدمت نہ ہو سکی مہمان نینوا تیری خدمت نہ ہو سکی جی بھر کے رو سکے نہ یہ گردش نصیب کی مجلس یہ آخری آئے حسین غریب کی مجلس یہ آخری آئے حسین غریب کی اگلے برس حسین محرم میں آئیں گے باقی رہی حیات تو یہ غم منائیں گے اور فاطمہ کے لال پہ آنسو بہائیں گے گر مر گئے تو قبر میں ہم خاک اڑائیں گے تیار قافلہ ہے شاہ مشرقین کا لو کربلا کو جاتا ہے کنبہ حسین کا لو کربلا کو جاتا ہے کنبہ حسین کا عباس سے با وفا علی اکبر نہ جائیے جھولے کو خالی چھوڑ کے اصغر نہ جائیے لے کر برات قاسم بے پر نہ جائیے ویرا مکان ہوتا ہے سرور نہ جائیے آئی صدا نہ رو عزادار آئیں گے پھر اگلے سال اپنے بھرے گھر کو لائیں گے پھر اگلے سال اپنے بھرے گھر کو لائیں گے اے شاہ کربلا معلا سلام لو ہم بے کسوں کے والیو مولا سلام لو آقا سلام لو شاہ والا سلام اے فاطمہ کے چاند ہمارا سلام رخصت یہ آخری ہے دل افگار آئے ہیں مولا سلام لو یہ عزادار آئے ہیں مولا سلام لو یہ عزادار آخری بندہ لو الوداع ہوتا ہے رخصت یہ تشنا کا تم رو رہے ہو ماہ محرم سے صبح و شام کوثر پہ اپنے ہاتھ سے دوں گا میں بھر کے جان کوثر میں اپنے ہاتھ سے دوں گا میں بھر کے جان رخصت حسین ہوتا ہے تم پر میرا سلام دونوں جہاں میں خوش رہو اور شاد تم رہو اماں دعائیں دیتی ہے آباد تم رہو اماں دعائیں دیتی ہے آباد تم رہو اے سوگوارو آؤ درود بر محمد و آل محمد تھینک یو
Mu'mineen, Surah Fatiha is requested for Marhuma Zarina Banu bint Nazar Ali Hemani, Marhuma Noor Banu bint Zabir Bhai, Marhum Ali Hussain, Muhammad Ali Hussain, Mumtaz Begum, Haidar Hussain Khan, Himmat Ali Khan, Sayyid Muhammad Abid Ali, Mirza Mazhar Ali Beg, Mumtaz Hassan Ali, Sayyid Asghar Hussain Abidi, Sayyid Jafar Musawi Hussaini Begum, Ghulam Raza Beg, Tahir Nisa Begum, Hassan Ali Khan, Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi Mahmood Ali, and for all Jumla Marhumin of Lakhani family, Abdi family, as well as include your Marhumin as well. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Mu'minin, the final majlis of this Ayyam-e-Aza will be inshallah tomorrow on Saturday, Majlis-e-Shahadat-e-Imam Hasan Askari A.S, and we are going to have Tabut as well. On Sunday, inshallah, September 24th, we are going to have Jashn-e-Eid-e-Zahra, starting with Salat-e-Maghriban at 8 p.m. inshallah. Dr. Shamsi has the introduction of Shaykh Kulayni, which I actually got from him, so I will actually recite. Shaykh Saed Ali Kulayni, he was born and raised in New York City. He converted to Shia Islam from Sunni Islam during his teenage years, mashallah. He studied at the Majlis-e-Imam Institute and also in the holy city of Karbala, Iraq. He has worked at multiple Islamic centers in the Atlanta area, Louisiana, Florida, Seattle, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, California, Chicago, Detroit, Indiana, Canada, Colorado, Portland, and Arizona, mashallah. I don't think any major city we have left it out. So he has, mashallah, written multiple articles on Shia Islam and also published 3 books. With the loudest of salawat, I would request Maulana Shaykh Said Kulayni to recite tonight's majlis. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام أشرف المرسلين وخاتم النبيين أكمل مجتبى أبي قاسم محمد مصطفى وعلى طيبين الطاهرين لا إله إلا الله جليل الجبار لا إله إلا الله عزيز الغفار لا إله إلا الله واحد القهار لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إلها واحدا نحن له مخلصون لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إلها واحدا نحن له مسلمون لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إلها واحدا نحن له عابدون قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه عزيز بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وآمنوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صلوات. We all have a lot in common, more so than we actually know. One of the things in which we have in common that we never really think about is that we all have this certain meeting. It's a very important meeting. And this meeting that we all have, many people go, but nobody has came back and told us about this meeting. Unlike other meetings, a person would come back and they would say, well, this meeting was great, but this meeting is very different from any other meeting. This meeting in which that we all cannot avoid, nor can we delay, is a meeting that everyone is affected by. I never heard anybody tell me how good was this meeting. This meeting that everybody will taste it one day and no one could run away from it regardless of who they may be or how much power they may have. This meeting in which that I'm talking about is considered to be something that is what we live for, and that is to die. We live to die. It doesn't matter if you was a person who said, oh, I am going to go on the highest point. Death will reach you. Regardless if you said, oh, I am going inside of a cave and I'm going to lock myself in and it's going to make sure I have all type of metal around me so that no one can be able to get to me, death will still reach you. We even found that if a person said, oh, I am going to freeze my body and maybe in the future I'm going to wake myself up or have them wake me up and I'm going to live in the future. Even then, Allah will take your life. You can't get away from this. How much we may try. Once we breath that last breath in which we was destined to have, it is no longer a life ahead of us. Not in this world. But of course, Allah, even though we all will taste death, that does not mean that our life ends. It means that our life will continue in the hereafter. That's what that means. Right? That's what it means. We can't escape this. Remind me of a story. It said that Prophet Sulaiman, alayhi salam, he was building a fortress, and as he was building his fortress, he didn't allow people to come into this fortress. He didn't want nobody to come there. He said, no, you're forbidden. So they said one day he was there and he was watching over this fortress to see what was going on. As a person who's building something, they always want to look after the building and make sure that it is becoming prepared correctly or being built correctly. So they said that as he was there, he saw two people coming towards him. And he asked, who is this? He said, we are the ones cannot be stopped. This is the angels of death. Regardless of how much people may say that, the funniest thing, I'm sorry, this just came to my mind. I remember growing up and they said that the time when Prophet Musa alayhi salam the angel of death was coming towards him and he didn't want to go and he punched him in the face. Like, this was impossible. How can this even happen? Because all actuality, when Allah sets out the angels to do something, they must obey Allah. How is it that he has this power to say, oh no, death, I am not going to come? It is impossible. When you think about this, you look at it like, oh, no one can escape it. Or when we look at these certain movies that was on TV some years ago, how people was escaping death. Like, oh, we escaped death. We see that these angels came regardless of how fortified this fortress was, because when it was his time to go and his last breath was supposed to be breathed, they came towards him to take that soul. You cannot say, oh no, wait a minute. Oh, can you wait a moment? I'm not ready to go. Oh, no, hold on, wait a minute. No, please tell Allah, give me some more time. I will make myself better. No, you have plenty of much time. That's why when we are here, we must take all the opportunities to rectify any wrong that we have did. That means all the sins in which we have committed. We have to make sure that these sins are wiped away, because we do not know when Allah going to say, take this person's life. We don't know. Just imagine if we knew that when we was going to die. Just imagine Allah put an expiration date on the bottom of my foot. The difference is we got the expiration date and say I'm going to live for 70 years, right? I'm going to say, man, I got 70 years. 69 years, I commit all the sins. On that 70th, I'm going to say, oh Allah, please forgive me. This is what happened. This is exactly what happened. We knew when we was going to die. We would take advantage of every moment. We would be like how these young people said, oh, I am so young. I have a life to live. I have plenty of time to be religious. I have plenty of time to worship Allah. But as people who get older, you realize that there are young people in the grave as well. Right? Death affects everyone. Doesn't matter what age. Some people are here for a day. Some people are here from 100 or more days, whatever it may be. We never know. And this is the beauty in which Allah has kept this for himself and did not let us know. Because as human beings, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to take advantage of it. So I have plenty of time. Astaghfirullah. We don't have time. We hear that we must leave our house when we leave our house and act like we're never going to return. So when we do any type of mild worship or anything we have to do, we have to think that this is the last time I'm going to do it. But no, we take advantage and say, no, I'm going to act like I have another one. And I'm going to just give it this much, not all that I can. This is how it is, right? Death is a purification for those who believe. It's a purification. No one ever looks at it like this. Why do you find in a lot of doers, they call this place the Sajin, a jail for the believers. Because we are trapped in this world and we are travelers going through this world and we are trying to accumulate all the deeds that we can get to send it ahead of us to that place that is so beautiful. This is not our home. This is just a place we passing through. This is not. But unfortunately, society has us thinking that we must build big, beautiful things here as though it's going to last forever. It's weird. I was thinking, I was in my salat room, I think it was last night, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking at all these books, right? And I said to myself, why am I buying all these books when I'm going to leave them behind? This was actually my thought 3 o'clock in the morning. It hit me. I'm always buying these books, Islamic books, but then when I'm gone, they'll still be here. So why do we accumulate? Why do we amass? Why? It's an interesting situation. We never live as though this is our last. We never think that we say, oh, I will see you tomorrow. Not thinking that we may not make it to tomorrow. This is the example which we have to think when it comes down to death, because Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said, and those who are mindful of the hereafter. Those who are mindful of the hereafter, that means that death is always on their mind. If they always thinking about this death, they will not commit any type of atrocities. They will not hurt anybody. They will be in constant worship, constantly asking Allah Azza wa Jalla for His forgiveness. Because we don't know when we're going to go. It was this guy. He said he was a friend of the angel of death. Had to be a very, scary friendship. So he said, look, I don't know if he said angel of death. He might have said, hey, angel of death, my friend. He might have said that, but the hadith it said he said it that way. But he's like, when it's time for me to go, let me know. Give me heads up. Right? Now, I think that's a good idea to ask him. I really do think this is a good idea. If you want to say, hey, angel of death, why don't you tell me when it's time for me to go? Give me some heads up so I could go and, fix my will, ask for forgiveness, these certain type of things, right? So they said that when it was time for him to go, the angel of death came towards him. And he said to the angel of death, he said, hey, wait a minute. Then I asked you, request for you to let me know beforehand when I'm going to die. So the angel of death, he said to him, I gave you all the proof. Didn't you see people around you dying? We have to think that today our friend go, but tomorrow me may go. As time goes on, we become the youth in the community, but these youth become the elderless in the community. So they go from those having a long time ahead of them to those who have a very long time behind them. This is how it is. We find that as we get older, as we increase our iman, we find ourselves thinking more and more about our final abode, that grave. And as we start to bury our loved ones, whether they are family members or our brothers and sisters in faith, we start to think that one day I am going to be that same body that's laying on this cold plank. Then we start to think to ourselves, it was not too long ago that this body was considered by the name of Ahmed, but when we look at it now, it is the body. As we wash this body, we start to say to ourselves, at one time, this body of the washing had got up and would wash their own self. But here I am washing this body. Oh Allah, please, when I'm in this state, there will be someone there to wash my body. And as we give him the hanut and remember all the places in which this person prostrated, we start to say to ourselves, oh Allah, please let there be someone to give me this hanut as I'm giving to this body right now. As we start to shroud his body or dress him, we think that at one time, this body or this person right here was able to get up and choose his own clothing. But today I shroud him. Oh Allah, please let there be someone to do this for me. As we go and we put him inside of the box and we start to pray for him, we start to remember that at one time this person used to pray right next to me, or I used to be in his home and he used to lead me in prayer or whatever it may be. But today I pray for him the last prayer, because after this I will not see him no more. And I start saying to myself, oh Allah, let there be someone there who will pray for me like how I prayed for this body here. As I start to go to the grave and we start to walk towards the final resting place of
our beloved brother or sister, and we stop and we pause for a moment and we start to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, because we start to realize that this body has to acclimate himself or herself to the new place or their new home. So we pause for a moment and we said to ourselves, oh Allah, let there be someone to do this for me. As we get all the way to the end of the walk, and now we are at the edge of the grave, and we lay him down, because like all things, we must take time to adjust, and the body must take time to adjust before you place it in its new home, that grave. And like always, we start to think. But before we place this body in the grave, we see ourselves looking in that grave and saying to ourselves, oh Allah, this is my final destination. This will soon be my home as well. And there will soon be people placing me in there, opening up my shroud, shaking my body, saying the Tawqeed, putting the dirt upon me, reciting Surah Al-Qadr, all the effect, and then all of a sudden people will walk away and I'll be in the grave, left all by myself. Oh Allah, have mercy upon me for all the sins in which I have done. Oh Allah, please forgive me, because I thought that death was not a reality, but as I see, death is a reality, and it is knocking on my door like it has knocked on a door and the person had opened it, who we bury today. So we see that this is the reality that was given to him when he said to the angel of death, give me a warning. And he said, this is the warning. When we look at the death that happens all around us, this is our warning for us to shape up. This is a warning for us to shape up. Death is serious. You know, it always hear this when somebody dies, it happens so suddenly. We even hear this when we know that the person is going to die. It happens so suddenly. But on actuality, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He told you from the beginning that you will die. So it shouldn't be like, oh, it happened all suddenly. We should say, oh, this is something in which we must embrace. This is something in which is going to happen. This is something in which I cannot escape. This is something in which is going to happen to everyone in this room. Something in which we can't get away from. Remember, this was some time ago, and I was talking to this brother. He said, Alhamdulillah for being Muslim. I said, Inshallah, we die Muslim. He looked at me like I was crazy. He literally looked at me like I was crazy. Not thinking that when a person is on their deathbed, they will lose faith. There was incidents that one time the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said one time it was a man and he tried to get him to recite La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. He refused. He was like, I didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. So after he kept on trying to get him to recite this and he refused, all of a sudden they said that he blacked out. He became unconscious. And once he came unconscious, he woke up and he recited the kalima shahada. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked him, what was the change of heart? He said that when he blanked out, the shaitan, he came to him. And when he came to him, he told him, believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Even at the very end, the person can lose faith. So when I said that to him, this is a reality, because we can find ourselves worshiping Allah for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and at that last moment, we lose faith in Allah and we die as non-believers. It is so possible. We never think about this. Why is that? Because we say, oh, alhamdulillah, I am Muslim. Not thinking, inshallah, let me die as a Muslim as well. You know, it's like one time it was two brothers, and the same incident like this happened. One brother was a disbeliever. He was very wealthy. It's almost like this in this world. You see people that's non-believers, they're extremely wealthy. And of course, the Muslim, he was poor. Cliche, Muslim poor, non-Muslim extremely wealthy. So the Muslim brother used to try to tell his brother, oh, hey, why don't you believe in one God? He like, come, you should believe in the multi-gods. Look at all this cash I got. This is basically what they were saying, right? So his brother kept on talking to him about believing in one God. So they said one day that all of a sudden the disbelieving brother said, man, you know, my brother is right. I should believe in one God. Then mind you, on the other hand, the believing brother, he said to himself, man, you know, my brother's right. I should believe in what he believes in, the multiple gods. So it said that as they start to walk towards each other, Allah Azza told the angel of death to take their soul. We don't know what happened now. The non-believer died as a believer, and a believer died as a non-believer. Just like that. Excuse me. Just like that. We never think about these type of things because we are so busy engulfed in this life, not thinking that we can lose ourselves, lose our identity as Muslims, lose our belief in Islam, and find ourselves in this dunya just roaming around like all the other people, like life is going to live forever, and then all of a sudden, Allah takes your life, and all the little bit of good deeds in which you have done, where He does, He give you the good now, and you will not get it in the hereafter. This is what happens. This is what happened. We find ourselves worshiping Allah, then we become disbelievers. And Allah take our soul and we die this way. Something in which we need to think about. This is very interesting. I wonder why the youth never think like this. I know why. Because they're so engrossed with the social media, the internet, and all these other people that have no knowledge about the hereafter. They say, I'm going to listen to this guy. Instead of listening to what Allah says. Allah, He tells us that it'll be a time in which you will meet Him. It'll be a time in which you will be questioned. All the things in which you have done, you have to answer. Remind me of this story. They said it was during a time, this is a story, and it said that two people's time of being questioned. It was damn Yamo Kiyama. You know, we love these stories. And it was two guys. So one guy, Allah questioned, he went through. So mind you, these two guys was talking to each other before they was being questioned. So one guy talking, he went through, Allah went through fast. The next guy, Allah, he was there for so long, questioning about everything in which he have done. What did he do with the resources that he was given to himself in this world? What did he do with it? So when he came out of questioning, they said that the other guy met him and he started to say, oh, wow, what happened? He said, oh, Allah was questioning me in certain ways. He said, but who are you? He said, I am the God that we was talking before the questioning. They said that the questioning affected him so much that he stressed and scared so much that his whole appearance changed so much that the person that was talking to him before the question did not even recognize him after the questioning. He was not even recognized. He was unrecognizable. He was not able to be recognized. These type of stories explain to us, we start to look at everything in which we do. Is the things that we doing correct? Are we using things in a correct way? Are we doing things in a correct way? Are we sending things ahead of us, or are we leaving things here for us? Because all actuality, if we know that something's about to happen, like death, we need to start to prepare ourselves for this event. Right? You prepare for everything else. We got a trip. Man, I need a toothpaste. I need some soap, some towels. Oh man, I'm going swimming, so I'm going to have swimming trunks too as well. Oh honey, what you going to have? Oh, don't forget that. I'm going to bring that as well. We prepare for all these type of things, but yet we do not prepare for death. We act like it's not going to happen. We talk about that. Hey, Aki. Hey. We don't have time to be talking about death. We got to live. Man, look, leave that for the uncles and aunties. Let them talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. Oh, man, you blow my fun. This is our mentality when we talk about this type of thing. We start to say, I don't want to talk about this, but yet we prepare ourselves for everything except death. We must prepare ourselves for everything that is involved with life and death. In other words, whatever we have that is here, we must send ahead of us. Because all actuality, we are here from the riwayah that there are three things in which go with you to the grave, but only one stays and the other two leaves you. Right? Three things go, two leave, one stay. Family and your money. But what stays is the deeds in which you had accumulated when you are here in this earth. This is the preparation in which we must do before we go. And we don't have much time. This is how you have to think about it. Because a lot of times we think that we have plenty of time. Oh, I have time. But all actuality, plenty of time for those who know about how much time they got. But when you don't know how much time you got because Allah has not revealed how long you're going to be here, then you really don't have no time to waste. Just like Allah says in the Quran, by time man has been what? Lost. What do we lose out on all the things in which we supposed to have accumulated that is good, like the deeds, to send ahead of us, to make sure that house is beautiful for us, to make sure that our graves are comfortable for us, to make sure that all the benefits in which we had planned to see for in this world will go there and it will show, and that veil in which that was on our eyes will be lifted, and we see the reality of what Allah has said, and we said that, oh, alhamdulillah, what Allah has said is the truth. Death. We look at Aql Bayt. They look death right in the eyes, man. They look, death, I see you right there. No problem, death, I'm not scared of you. You even hear the children, death is sweeter than life. Sweeter than honey. Sweet. Hear that? When we think of death, how do we feel when we say, oh, death? It is almost like a plague that affects our body, our bones. And when somebody says death, we cringe like, oh, I don't want to hear about it. But all actuality, Allah did not create us to stay in this world. If you really think about it, Allah, if he had created us to stay on the earth, then we would have never died. Allah, all actuality created us for the next world. Because think about it. Somebody that lived 100 years ago, they was 20, 30 years old when they died. But they've been dead for 150 years. They've been in the grave for 100, 200 years, but they only lived for 20 years. So Allah, he created us to live only in a short time in this world, but to live forever in the hereafter. Because you never heard nobody say, oh, they will die in the hereafter. But you heard people will die in this dunya. So when we look at Ahl Bayt, we should look at them on how they look death in the eyes and were not afraid of death. We have to go back and remind ourselves like how Imam Hussein alayhi salam looked at death. We know from the very beginning the Imam knew that he was going to die. When we think about from the very beginning, we think about that story that when Fatima sallallahu alayha had Imam Hussein and it said that it said Rasulullah, he started to walk and he started to scream, "Oh, Asma, give me my son. Asma, give me my son." Right, in such a voice, and how he was coming towards her that she was wondering, like, what have this child done? And he said that, oh, Jabril just gave me information that after I go, how they going to massacre my son. The Imam, they knew. Rasulullah knew from the beginning that what was going to happen to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Not only did he know, the people around him knew as well. Everyone knew. This was not a closed situation that no one did not know that Imam Hussein was going to die at a certain time, be massacred. He himself knew. They said that one time, one of his companions, Solomon Muhammadi, when he passed by a place, they said, "What is this place?" They said, "This place is Karbala." He said, "Oh, I was told that this is going to happen here. This is going to happen here. This is going to happen here." It was so much so they said that the people even knew the names of the killers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam before it was going to happen. They said at one time, this I think was Ziyad. He went inside the mansion in Kufa, and everybody knew that he would be a part of killing Imam Hussein. This was said in the Riwayah. They knew this. Imam Hussein knew the person who was going to kill him as well. I remember the story in which they said that his father had a war with the Karajite people. And they said that during that time he had took someone as a captive. And they said this person was in the cave, not a cave, like a cage, excuse me. And Imam Hussein started to walk by and this person said, "Oh, please can you go to your father and ask him to give me some type of ease." So he went to his father and said, "Oh, father, I'm requested that this prisoner ask for some type of ease." Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he said, "Don't you know who this person is?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Don't you know that this is the one who is going to kill you?" He said, "Yes. But, oh, father, he asked for some type of ease, so I must go to you and ask for the request." Now, mind you, imagine if we knew the person that was going to kill us before this person was going to kill us. Most likely we would kill that person. But here it is, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when the person that was going to kill him asked for a request, what did he do? He tried to fulfill that request, knowing that in the future that this will be the person that will take the blade onto his neck and will cut his neck in such a way to sever the head of him. This is how Ahl Bayt alayhi salam looks at death. And we as followers of Ahl Bayt should take that as an example and start to say ourselves that, oh, death is going to come soon. I must prepare myself like how I prepare myself for the winter days or the hot summer days that are ahead of me. I must prepare for that place, that grave that may be either spacious or maybe tight. Maybe serpents or maybe roses. Oh, I have to make sure that this grave of mine is going to be a good grave. So I must send things ahead of me. I must do more deeds. I must live as though that every day is my last day on earth. I must treat people as good people and make sure that I do not leave anyone hurt before I leave this earth. Oh, I just want to make sure that I have a good resting place because I must prepare myself for that day in which they will come and they will draw out my soul from my body, and then I will no longer have that breath, and I will be no longer called Saed. I will be called that body on that metal table. We have to think this way. I never heard or read anything in which said that Al-Widai alayhi salam was afraid of death or scared of death. Because like true believers, which we are, alhamdulillah, we know that it is like what Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam said. He said, death is a purification of the believers. It is though we are taking the most ugliest clothing off and putting the most beautiful clothing on at death. Because we realize death is definitely a purification because it takes us away from this dunya. And if anybody said that they love Allah, why we should not want to be even closer to Allah subhanahu. Why not? Why should we be scared of something in which we cannot avoid? Instead of just embracing that one day I will be no longer. One day we will not be no longer here. We will be of somebody that remembered one time, oh, I remember him, I remember her. And to the point that no one will remember us. But yet we live on this earth as though we're going to live forever. Oh, actually, not in this world. In the hereafter, yes. So as we think about death, we must look at how Imam Hussein and his family, alayhi salam, looked at death. They looked towards it as though it was a purification. They ran towards it. They did not run away. They looked at death and said, come with it. I am willing to go and get closer to Allah and accept my destiny because I live to die. Just think for a moment. Remember how we was saying that Imam Hussein knew the person who was going to kill him. But we never said the name of this person that was in that cage. We started to look, this person's name was Shimmer, letting Allah. Now the crazy thing about this with Shimmer is that it's not that he did not know Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It is not that he was not a relative distantly, because Imam Ali alayhi salam married the niece of Shimmer, Banin. Remember in the history that they said that he called Feather Abbas and all of them said, oh, come onto this side. Nobody never read that? Man, listen out this. He knew who the Imam was. And that makes it even worse. Makes it even worse. He knew who the Imam was. So as he went towards the Imam, after he could not get no one to cut the neck of the Imam, he went over to them and he started to be furious and he took the blade, and as he grabbed the Imam, and as though the Imam said, do you know who I am? He's like, yes, I know who you are. And he started to explain exactly who the Imam is. You are the son of Ali, the son of Fatima, the son of Muhammad. But yet, he took the blade and put it towards the neck of the Imam, and he sought to sever the neck of Imam Hussein. We know that when it's time for us to slaughter our animal, the knife in which we use to slaughter the animal must be so sharp that it does not affect the animal. But yet, he took the knife to cut the neck of this holy soul. This one was considered the son of Rasulullah. And he severed the neck of him. He went back and forth towards the neck of the Imam, as though it was nobody. As he did it, not only that, when we look at when we slaughter an animal, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he said the best. He saw someone about to slaughter an animal. He said, before you slaughter this animal, what do you do? They said, oh, Imam, I did not know what I do. He said, is it recommended to give water to this animal before they slaughter it? Then he started to explain to them that, oh, they did not even give water to Imam Hussein. They let him thirsty. But yet, it is highly recommended for you to give this animal water. And isn't it highly recommended that when you cut the neck of this animal, that it must be sharp? But yet, they did not even do that for Imam Hussein. Oh, and then we start to see how they start to press the neck and head of Imam Hussein on the spear as though he was not something that was great. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh Lord, please let us look at death for those who follow Ahlul Bayt, and not to be scared, but to embrace death. Take Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam as our example of those who look towards getting close to Allah and not find ourselves running away from Allah, but being close to Him and embracing that day in which none of us can not escape, that meeting in which none of us will come back to tell us how it was. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal as'ina al-insana la fi khusr alladhina amanu wa aminu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr wa huwa da'wana walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wa sallallahu Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.